Hello. Chuck E. Cheese is not a typo and is instead the biggest and most obvious example of a Chuck E. Cheese ripoff, which as a topic will define this layer. So what was it? Chuck E. Cheese was a one-off Mexican food and arcade restaurant located in a mall in Puerto Vallarta. The store opened in 2006-2007 and over the next few years eventually started a website and had a series of commercials for the restaurant. And from what it looks like, this restaurant was popular. The restaurant itself is a standard entertainment center, very reminiscent of the weird appearance that all international Chuck E. Cheese locations seem to have. The walls were filled with drawings of popular American cartoon characters such as Spider-Man, Mickey Mouse, Winnie the Pooh, the Powerpuff Girls, Bart Simpson, Superman, and many more, which is also a common thing with several other international entertainment centers. Now, let's talk about what really makes this obscure restaurant prominent to the CEC ripoff, the name and logo. Obviously, the name is a direct inspiration from the name Chuck E. Cheese, with the design of Chuck E. Cheese being similar to the Avenger Chuck design, which was the design of Chuck at the time. The differences being that he's wearing a red shirt and hat, blue C for Chucky, white gloves, and the most significant change, his appearance being more in line with a cat or a fox. His fur ranges from a brown to a more yellowish orange color, but the designs given lead us to no clue as to what his lower half looks like, as there is so little information on this store and the mascot himself. There are a variety of home video clips that were posted onto YouTube of this store, but nothing that helps us finding any more information about the location, besides showing it to be a regular run-of-the-mill entertainment center, which makes sense as Chuck E. Cheese closed in 2011, only being open for 5 years. The store closed after CEC Entertainment themselves filed a lawsuit to shut it down for the infringement of their copyright, and this building still exists in the mall as of 2024, and they still have a lot of abandoned items and artwork from the restaurant still left behind in the building, which is very cool. Now, the most interesting part about this restaurant is that, to me, this food also looks good. Like, I would eat this pizza and these burgers, and yeah, it probably did not look as good as it did in the commercials in real life, but that's with everything. But in this video specifically, like, that looks good. Like, I would demolish this Pizza Hut looking pizza. And there's free Wi-Fi. Moving on. With 2.0 being an unfortunate plan to completely downgrade every CEC in the world and remove the icons of the brand, make everything more corporate, and just do dumb things that is unfortunately a trend with these corporations. With all that being said, to add to it, these remodels can get lazy. At first, all of the 2.0 remodels were at least good remodels, and they always would fix a large majority of issues about the location whilst improving the location's general appearance most of the time. This made the stores look a lot cleaner and consistent in terms of design, but as the remodels continued throughout the years, examples piled up of the 2.0s being lazy. The term lazy 2.0 is referred to when the remodels are oftentimes partial. They sometimes leave behind old parts of the previous remodels and keep them in the finished remodel. On one hand, it's cool to leave behind remnants of older aspects of these locations, and honestly is a better outcome than a good 2.0 if you're, a fan. And on the other hand, it can really make the stores look cheaper than they already are, especially when they're failing to modernize these stores, because that was the entire point. Like, yeah, it's cool to see old parts of locations survive, as that's always happened throughout the history of the brand with every major remodel, and it provides a cool little artifact of what came before, while also just being cool reasons for people to come to these locations. However, in these cases, it looks so much more cheap than just keeping the previous remodel. Moving on. Alright, so get this. In 1996, the original version of what would become Studio C would open in Dallas, Texas, known as the Awesome Adventure Machine. This was converted from a 3-stage and was programmed on Laserdisc solely. Programmed by Animation World, it featured the first solo Chuck E. Cheese stage with just a 22-movement Chuckbot and his Awesome Adventure Machine, with 2 large screens to the left and the right that would display ongoing graphics relative to the thing Chuck was talking about or what the show tape was about. Chuck would even apparently walk on onto one of the screens and interact with guests, and the cockpit doors would close on the Chucky animatronic to make everything more immersive. The entire stage had a spacey, high-tech appearance and had a lot of moving parts. But why wasn't this killer stage never taken any further than just the one location? Well, like I just said, it had a lot of moving parts. It was very hard to constantly maintain and keep everything functional, and this was its downfall. Eventually, in 1998, it was replaced by the Studio C Alpha stage, removing the test stage permanently. We have the footage of the awesome adventure machine thanks to Brian Hagan, who in 2021 would upload 4K footage of the installation and shows of the awesome adventure machine, which was recorded in 1997 for the 20th year anniversary of the company. Overall, I like this a lot. If it wasn't so expensive and hard to maintain, this would have been awesome to see instead of Studio C. This one is a fun one. This one refers to a lot of misinformation that was spread specifically around 2014 to 2016 when FNAF was just starting, when a lot of fake stories were published about a real-life Bite of 83 happening at a Chuck E. Cheese. Along with this, there was also just general FNAF rumors about things happening at a Chuck E. Cheese adjacent to the events of the games. This included making unfortunate connections to the fictional FNAF murders, to the real 1993 shooting, and also several faked images of real FNAF locations. Another thing is something we'll cover in another entry, that being a type of 3 a.m. horror videos that is associated with this type of misinformation, which is typically these videos filmed at Chuck E. Cheese's with middle-aged adults pretending as if FNAF is real because they went to a Chuck E. Cheese and saw a plush of Golden Freddy or drank an Among Us potion. But yeah, moving on. Alright, so this entry does cover a lot, but first let's start with the most infamous unused animatronic. His name ranges, but we're gonna call him currently Dr. Quack, as in one, if not the only news article ever mentioning this duck, he's referred to it as Dr. Quack. This article is also how we know he was very briefly used in the Simi Valley Pizza Time Theater location in October of 1980, as he existed from late 1979 to later 1980, as far as we know. But let's backtrack a bit. Originally, we assumed he was meant solely to test diagnostic taste for Pizza Time Theater, being inspired by the original programmer of the Pizza Time Theater animatronics, Mike Hatcher, who also resembles one of the two photos we have of Dr. Quack. The other photo is slightly different, with a more finished look, likely being the animatronic iteration that was put in Simi Valley, as opposed to the first Mike Hatcher version, which was used to test diagnostics. Now, also with this character, there's a general mystery to his name, as it goes from Dr. Ducks to Dr. Quack to even DJ Duck. Why is he called DJ Ducks? Well, it's because we assume when he was installed, his purpose as an animatronic was to act as a DJ for certain music in the restaurant. There's also some possibility Pizza Time Theater was planning on using him for a disco room in stores, replacing the cabaret or the lounge. And that's basically all we currently know about this mysterious character. If you want to know the nitty-gritty though about this Dr. Duck stuff, ShowbizPizza.com's official YouTube channel covers a lot of this, as this is where I get most of the information in this entry from. So if you want a more in-depth video on what this entry is about, watch that video after you watch this. So as for the rest of what's in this entry, unused animatronics, Dr. Ducks was one of the many scrapped Pizza Time Theater animatronics that went unused. The one we know for sure was made and then retrofitted was the Cyberamic of Elton John, which, like some of these, was repurposed into another animatronic, this one being Artie Antlers. Some other examples include Piggy Lee, who became Madame Onk, Foxy Farah, also known as Foxy Lady, who became Foxy Colleen, Barry Manilow, Glenn Camel, Elvis Seeley, Captain Parrot and Charlie, also known as Captain Bootleg and Patch, who became nobody. And of course, Elton John himself, as previously mentioned. Now, these are all ones that at least made it into the official documents or items for Pizza Time Theater. But there's an even longer list of characters that just made it concept art only. At least I'm pretty sure. This includes a unnamed octopus character, which reminds me of Antioch the Spider, who bounced up and down to the music of some Rock-afire stages. And the other ones, none of these have official names.
Which I'm just going to put on screen here.
Dang. But, yeah, watch the ShowbizPizza.com video if you're interested in more stuff about this, but that's essentially it for this entry. CEC what-ifs is my excuse to talk about a thing a lot of people in the CEC community do, where they think and write about hypothetical what-ifs about the company's history. A lot of it is usually what if 2.0 didn't happen, but this is best defined by someone we'll cover in a later entry, It's a Rob, who made a series of what-if videos that happen to be his most popular uploads. These range from hypothetical situations, like if Krusty never replaced Mr. Munch and survived till modern day, if Aaron Fector did sell the rights to the Rockefeller explosion, and how they would go about turning the Cyberamics into the Rockefeller. What if Chuck E. Cheese and Showbiz Pizza remained separate and didn't merge? What if Pizza Time Theater didn't go bankrupt? What if Winchester Boulevard never closed? What if the War Bullets were never removed? What if Cyberamics were still made? What if the Cabaret was never removed? What if legacy stores were done properly? And of course, what if 2.0 never existed? There's more, however, than just It's a Rob videos. There's a lot of different ways fans imagine this stuff going differently. And overall, this is just a fun thing to theorize about in the community. If you couldn't tell already by the unused character entry and pretty much a lot of this iceberg so far, lost media is a large part of what makes this community as active as it is, because everything is so old and relatively mysterious. A lot of what we knew 10 or 20 years ago is nothing compared to what we know now. All thanks to the community. There is a lot of lost media currently that we know exists and we're currently looking for. Some examples include the previously mentioned 1979 Chuck E. Cheese animated commercial, which aired in the San Jose area only for a few months, and the just mentioned Dr. Quack, who likely had a real show tape if he was installed in a real location, but we don't know for sure. There's also a 2012 tape that Chuck E. Cheese voice actor Duncan Brandon recorded as his last show tape before getting the boot without being told by CEC Entertainment and getting replaced by the head of Bowling for Soup, because that's actually something that happened. A lot of Pizza Time Theater stuff in general is lost. Most Pizza Time Theater wall art is lost media, as a lot of the art made was handcrafted and never mass-produced. In fact, a good chunk of every part of CEC history is lost media. And Showbiz is even worse. Things like Junk Night, a sequel to Colander Night, which was an event where guests would bring their own colander hat decorated and receive things like tokens. But Junk Night was that, but with actual garbage items guests were supposed to bring, and for some reason, it didn't take off. Showbiz Lost Media also includes this famously seen clan animatronic, which was really just made by creative engineering, and its chilly counterpart named Mundo Magico. I think my personal favorite lost media is that of Strike It Up, a Chuck E. live song that has only been recorded like a few times ever. I'm pretty sure we found most of the song, but we're missing the actual music video of the song, besides a 2-second clip from a compilation video made for the corporation. There are a lot more that we'll cover in later entries, but there is a lot of these. There is so much CEC and Showbiz Pizza lost media, a good portion we don't even know exists, likely. Chances are there is a 1984 home video recording of a random family in San Jose who went to Winchester Boulevard, and we won't know about it until like 2031. Chuck E. Cheese was undoubtedly a game changer, a one-of-a-kind, and just like on YouTube, where there is originality mixed with success, there will be a million copycats. We've already talked about two, technically, Chuck E. Cheese, most known and already talked about, and Showbiz Pizza Place, which is very technically a ripoff, as Bob Brock originally owned Pizza Time Theater locations before breaking the contract and making Showbiz Pizza into a better version of Chuck E. Cheese. But let's talk about what you think of when you actually think of ripoffs. Things like Banjo Billy's Pizza, which are reopened, slightly retrofitted Chuck E. Cheeses. In this case, using actual Chuck E. Cheese animatronics, just slightly retrofitted, of course. Other examples of these are Mark's Funtime Pizza Place, Fun Zone and Pizza, Boomis/Showbiz Pizza Fiesta, Zach Periwinkles, this unknown place that I can find nothing on but this video on, which all did a very similar thing. Other examples include the Pizza Planet, also with their own bad animatronics, Pizza Playhouse, Birthday World, Monkey Joe's, all places associated with copying something about CEC in one way or another. Better ripoffs consist of things like Dimes and Critters or Huckleberry Junction Playhouse and Theater, or Gadgets, where there's an actual effort into making it less like Chuck E. Cheese, at least in terms of the animatronic entertainment. But of course, it's still the same process. And oh my god, side note, For years, I was looking for this Chuck E. Cheese video that I saw of what I thought was a Chuck E. Cheese location in Guatemala with weird-looking windows and a really, really, really bad 3-stage. And I could not find it. I thought I was going crazy because I couldn't find anything of it, and while researching, I found this. Exactly what I was looking for and exactly what I thought. I'm pretty sure it's a real Chuck E. Cheese location store in Guatemala that was in horrible condition, so I spent literal years looking for that, and all it took was looking for rip-off Chuck E. Cheeses. But anyways, other times it's a lot less about copying the idea of Chuck E. Cheese, but rather repurposing the animatronics. This would be like the several Chuck E. Cheese animatronics that are in 2 Jungle Gyms locations, including a retrofit of the King, the Warblets, a half-body Pasquale animatronic, and at one point, a Dolly Dimples animatronic. Some of these I've actually seen in person too. Other examples are like these balcony stage Chuck E. Cheese animatronics that are now used as decorations for the Burger Farm Festival in Ohio. Rocky and the Ramblin' Rascals, which is another cheap retrofit, and finally, the Zach Periwinkle's animatronics, which were repurposed to go to Wonderland Pier and became a country singing band, and with Mr. Munch's head being replaced by the King's head. There's certainly more, as hundreds of Pizza Time theaters closed in the mid-80s to go and become whatever anyone else wanted them to be, and that's how most of these started. But of course, you probably get the point. Moving on. This goes hand in hand with the FNAF rumors and real Bite of 83 stuff. This refers to creepypastas written about Chuck E. Cheese, usually about the robot murdering a child, or a man and a mascot character murdering a child, or just general murder, lots of murder, a lot of murder. Some notable CEC creepypastas include the real Chuck E. Cheese, reflections on the 1992 Chuck E. Cheese ball pit incident, the Uncle Clunk incident, which is a Showbiz Pizza thing, there's a cursed animatronic in the desert, and fucking I was quarantined at a Chuck E. Cheese. There's a lot of these, almost all of them being written and narrated by Mr. Freaky, who has also written like 30 other Chuck E. Cheese creepypastas, and is the guy mainly behind most of this entry existing for the most part. Other CEC creepypastas exist, at like the first one I mentioned, but this guy and his niche of making these horror stories carries this entry and also brings back some nostalgia. Moving on. This is a follow-up entry to the ripoffs with a certain significance on the animatronic bands that weren't exactly copycats, but weren't exactly not copycats. More original than not, but still working with the Pizza Time Theater concept. This would be like the Rockafire Explosion, Looney Tunes Review, starting the Looney Tunes and the pre-mentioned Gadgets restaurants, Bullwinkle's Family Food and Fun, which was in line with Gadgets, but instead a much larger entertainment center with Bullwinkle, Circus Playhouse and Food Emporium with their circus theme stage and characters, and in line with that, Circus World Pizza. Other examples being the Tex Critters Pizza Jamboree, Major Magic's All-Star Pizza Review, Celebration Station, and you get the point. All of these are obscure enough to get a video on its own, but they all tried to do something in line with and add their own spin to the animatronic family center concept that CEC themselves stole from Disney. This was CEC's first attempt at going international, with an Australian series of 2 locations open in 1981 and 1982 respectively, fully named Charlie Cheese's Pizza Playhouse. Technically, it really was just one location, originally opening in Surfer Paradise in Queensland 1981, before relocating for no known reason in 1982 until its closure in 1986 in Carindale, Queensland, having a special mix of a portrait and balcony stage and an interesting exterior. The locations used 2 different logos parallel to the US counterparts for each location, and we got this cute Charlie Cheese plush out of it. Eventually, after it closed about 40 years after, a Chuck E. Cheese in Perth opened, and Australia had its own CEC once again. For some reason though, they kept the Chuck E. Cheese name instead of Charlie Cheese's, even though they went with the Charlie Cheese name because Chuck is a word for puke in Australia, but beats me. As we are here at the final entry of Layer 5, I guess when making this back in January, I thought it was about time in the Iceberg for a shameless self-promotion. I think this is referring to overall videos covering CEC and Showbiz Pizza Place origins, as a lot of YouTube videos about Chuck E. Cheese like to make the runtime longer by explaining the entire history of the restaurants. If it's not the actual sole purpose of the video, which it typically is, as the story of both companies competing in the 80s is a great story for a channel covering that kind of stuff. And I kind of did this. The videos I made specifically before I converted into deciding to do this full time was a 4-part series covering CEC and its entire history up until 2025. Kinda. I guess I can use this as my way to give my own thoughts on the series since it's the last entry anyway, but when I wrote this entry, I definitely had not seen my past series because it gets bad quick. Parts 1 and 2 I think are really good for what they were, but then I decided to give the series a continuation of my series before that and its overarching story where I had a therapist, met him, made him commit suicide, and then go back in time to stop myself from this entire thing even starting. Yeah, I don't know what I was really thinking, but they did well, and now I want to do this, so that's my sob story. But yeah, go watch parts 1 and 2, I guess, if you really want to, because I need to self-promote in this. I wouldn't suggest watching parts 3 and 4. If you really want to, you can watch the full-length compilation video, but I mean, you're probably going to click off after like 30 minutes anyway. I mean, I personally thought that 3 was a little bit better than 4, but apparently that's not what the masses thought, so yeah, that's my shameless self-promotion. And that's pretty much it for this light. Wait, but one more thing before we go. Now, what always amazes me is how on earth we let Chuck E. Cheese get anywhere. I mean, you go there and the first thing you see is an animatronic of a rat. A rat! You could have picked a bear or a raccoon. No. You've picked a rat. I'm supposed to sit here and look directly at the giant rat in the middle of the room and eat my food. Would you do that outside here? No. This isn't New York. No. Why would you? And then they removed them. Some 40 or some years later, they woke up one day and just said, what were we thinking? And then guess what? Now, nobody wants to come. It's like an acquired taste now. You take that away and now they like it. They like the rat.